like these jockeys now getting suspended, but you can still ride the stake races. That's the dumbest punishment I've ever heard of in my life. It makes absolutely no sense how you're going to tell a guy, oh, yeah, you can't ride the cheap $10,000 race, but the
Yeah.
$1 million race, by all means, go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah.
So,
Typical.
as tragically as we got beat last time, I still wasn't going to put on a St. Peter's Peacocks hat. That just wasn't going to happen. So,
Hey, I went to college,
did
I
you?
went to college for 1 semester.
What college was that? The School of Hard Knocks?
You mentioned Baffert, and we finally have some clarification now.
Sort of.
Okay, so will there be horses that he trains that will race this weekend with another trainer? It's time to talk horse racing once again with Chad Summers back from Dubai and looking very comfortable in this massive jacket he's got on. And unfortunately, he's wearing a hat that not many Kentucky fans are proud of today. How's it going, Chad?
Well, the thing about Kentucky is we're always proud to be Kentuckians.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna let that one go. I'm very tired. It was a very long week in Dubai. We saw one, possibly two entrants for the Kentucky Derby over there in the UAE Derby. So I'm sure we'll talk about all of that. But I got to give all the credit in the world to our listeners. First of all, we have people around the world that are listening to this show. I can tell you, Greg, the amount of people that I heard from that are in Dubai and Ireland and England that said that they tune into the show. So we're a worldwide international audience.
Okay.
And I got to take my hat off to all of our listeners, because the ones that were brave enough to stick their neck on their line to say, give us some of their picks for the Dubai World Cup, they nailed it. Richard sat there and said any Japanese horse, and he was right. All the Japanese horses, they won 5 races. Somebody had commented about Chua Wizard. Chua Wizard would hit the trifecta. He was 3rd. So our viewers, they're spot on the ball as always. So this week's challenge will be to correctly predict the Florida Derby and Arkansas Derby, which is going to be a little bit trickier than just the UAE Derby.
Yeah, and our numbers actually went to an all-time high this past week. So I'm sure that had a lot to do with the big event and you being over there. And I just think these numbers are going to continue to grow for the next few weeks. And that Kentucky Derby week should be pretty high as well. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, I think when we do the final show, hopefully in Louisville, Kentucky, maybe
I hope so.
We can have Will Smith and Chris Rock side to set up for us.
I'm gonna hold you to it. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for the big race that's coming up on Saturday. And what race is that going to be? Do we know the number of the race yet for John's horse?
Not yet. We enter on Wednesday.
Wednesdays are the days that you find out.
Wednesday
Okay.
For Saturday. Yes, the Bourbonnette Stakes.
And that's when we find out everything. We find out your post position, the race, and all that other stuff. The odds, the morning line odds probably don't come out until the next day after that.
Yeah. Jonathan has a friend who makes an algorithm who somehow they give us the odds like 6 hours after the race is drawn, and they're almost always right. I have no idea who the guy is. It's some random guy.
You mean compared to the morning line odds?
Basement. Yeah. His prediction of the morning line odds based on some kind of an algorithm. I don't know if it has to do with mint chocolate chip ice cream or what, but it works pretty well. So we'll have a pretty good idea. But Jonathan's freaking out already. He's nervous. Today's Monday. The race is 5 days away. He goes, I don't even know how she's gonna. We have no idea. He can't do it off the sheets because she's never run on the poly track before. I said, if you have no idea, don't be nervous. But being an owner of a 3-year-old filly or a 3-year-old colt this time of the year, that's exactly what this is. It's nervous time.
Good nervous time.
You have it's good nervous. It's want to throw up nervous. It's everything needs to go right nervous. And we saw this weekend starting in the UAE Derby and then followed up by the Louisiana Derby and even the Sunland Park Derby. You know, the fields are starting to take place and starting to firm up, and horses are stamping their tickets. And you know, very much like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, there are very few opportunities now to join. You know, there's only 20 horses that are allowed in the starting gate, so you need to find, you know, your entry. Otherwise, you have to hope that somebody drops out near the end. But I mean, look, today is March 28th. We're just over a month away. We're 4.5 weeks away from the Kentucky Derby. It's coming up quickly.
And it's funny because I was asking John who he thought. I mean, like the big race was going to be this week because you got the Florida Derby, the Arkansas Derby, and of course the Jeff Ruby Stakes. And by the way, I love the play on the word stakes.
STEAKS.
Yes, I love that. That's very that. I mean, whoever sold that, I mean, he should get the marketing award of the year. So
I want to know if the trophy is some like A1 sauce or something. You know,
I'm with it. So I asked him what he thought would be the better race, and usually it's the Florida Derby. Normally, the Florida Derby is the better of the two, but John said no, it's going to be the Arkansas Derby this year.
I think he has some vested interest in the race, obviously with his son Joe, you know, being involved intimately in the purchase and development and management of Cyberknife, who was going to take place in the Arkansas Derby. Okay. So look, I think both races are shaping up as really, really good races with deep fields. And as they like to say in the NCAA tournament, Heartbreak City, because there are going to be horses that in both races that think that they have Derby-like horses, and they're not going to get enough points to make it onto the big race.
Out of your poll, which is the same, I'm going to post the poll up here. How many of the 10 horses are racing in those two on Saturday?
So in the Florida Derby, tentatively, obviously we're going to draw that as well soon, but we have White Barrio, we have Classic Causeway, and we have the other horse for Antonio Sano. So those three horses are going to be in there. And then in the Arkansas Derby, we have We the People and we have Cyberknife. And the curveball in the Arkansas Derby is the filly Secret Oath, who's not on our list. She is the current leader in points on the Kentucky Oaks Trail. Goes postward for your man, the coach, Dwayne Lucas.
Oh. Good for him. Like clap.
We got a golf clap for Dwayne Lucas. Golf shows are on Tuesday, Greg.
It is on Tuesday. How'd you know that?
We have snapping and rooting and hollering. There's no golf clapping in horse racing.
No, there's not.
Maybe at Royal Ascot, but that's the only place. Yeah. There's no golf clap.
By the way, I was watching I had the coverage on I guess by that time it was Saturday afternoon. And I was working, as I usually do. I have stuff on and I'm working, and all of a sudden I'm realizing that they've got this like really big post-race extravaganza going on, you know, with the lights and the music. And I didn't know what that was for the first second. I thought it was leading up to another big race. And then all of a sudden I realized, wait a second, this is going on for a long time. I guess it's over. I guess this is like what they do at the end of the night. And it was awesome. I haven't seen anything like that before.
The firework display I used to see at Shea Stadium after a John Franco save, but no, they know how to really have a good time and throw an unbelievable event and a party, and the millions of dollars that it costs to put that event on. It really ends with a bang and an exclamation, and they have the drones and the light show and the fireworks, and then that's followed. Actually, after we went off air, there was 3 musicians that were playing. There was a concert. So a good time was had by most.
Take lessons, American
but you know,
racetracks.
I mean, when you talk about it, right? When you talk about kind of the recap of the weekend, and you talk about the UAE Derby, the Japanese horse that won, Crown Prince, who is now squarely in the Kentucky Derby, has 100 points, so is, I believe, second on the list now for the standings. He's coming. He's owned by a Japanese owner named Teruga Yoshida, who actually purchased Mind Your Biscuits from me, who I know very well. And he was actually in attendance there in Dubai. As the Japanese won everything. They won 4, dead heated for another one, had a bunch of seconds and thirds. And look, he's going to be looked at as a complete outsider. He's going to be 30-1, 20-1 on the morning line. He's going to be ridden
Crown
by
Pride.
Crown Pride. There's an Australian jockey who's going to be riding him, who's never ridden in America before, and it's going to be an unbelievable story. And the reason why you can't write this horse off is the Japanese horses have learned to travel very, very well. Last year it started in our Breeders' Cup when they kind of shocked us. They won the filly and mare Distaff with McLaren, who was a big price. They won the filly and mare Turf with a filly in Loves Only You, who's a really nice filly. They went to Saudi Arabia on the kind of the international stage, and they won 4 races in Saudi Arabia. And then they came to Dubai, and they won 5 races in Dubai. So anytime you want to take on the Japanese, do it at your own peril. They've learned how to ship. They've learned how to travel. They have really good game plans. And for that reason alone, I think it's going to be impossible to throw this horse out of the possibilities of winning a race. And look, there's never been a Japanese bred horse to win the race. There's never been a horse who's gone this UAE Derby route. We know all of the negatives per se, if you want to use the word negatives, but at the same time, the Japanese horses are getting better and better. And this horse, he has the style needed to win the race, and that stalking trip that normally is the winning move in the Kentucky Derby. And you kind of follow suit to the fairgrounds and the Louisiana Derby. And look, all eyes were on Epicenter. Obviously, he was the heavy post time favorite, and what he did, showing the new dimension of sitting off the pace, laying third early on in the race, and then kind of making that move. Whenever Joel Rosario wanted him to go, he was going to go. He was listening. He was paying attention to him. And I mean, it was beautiful to see, because we've spent a few times on this show saying something's got to give. There's so much speed signed up in this race. There's so many horses that need the lead. Well, Epicenter proved once and for all on Saturday that he doesn't need the lead. And that's Steve Asmussen could not be any prouder of his horse than he was on Saturday, because he knows now that he can sit any kind of trip and be able to be competitive. And look, Steve Asmussen's 0 for 25 in the Kentucky Derby. He would like nothing more than to win his first ever Kentucky Derby, and Epicenter certainly going to give him a live chance at that. Obviously has 2 more chances. He'll have Chasing Time running on Saturday in the Arkansas Derby, and then of course he'll come back with Morello in the Wood the following week. But certainly he's in a very good spot right now with Epicenter.
Yeah, I'm gonna do what I like to do on Mondays around this time. And I'm gonna ask John the sheet on Epicenter. What do you think the sheet is on Epicenter?
So what was he going into it?
I think it was 8.
So there was an 8 going into it. So I'm gonna. The track was playing fast on the day, but I'll say at least another 8, if not perhaps even something as low as a 6.5. He did it so easy. He made the sweeping move around the turn, giving up some ground to do so. He was a much the best winner, and the horses behind him had run some fast races. Obviously, Todd Pletcher's horse, Pioneer Medina, was okay. Zozos had been undefeated for Brad Cox coming in, and look, Zozos is now qualified for the Derby off just 3 lifetime starts. So, he's certainly made a rapid climb up the charts to qualify for the Derby. It looked for a while like Brad Cox wasn't going to have any horses in the Derby. Now he might have 1 or 2. So that was good for Brad. And again, another spot is taken. So 2 spots taken from the Louisiana Derby, 1, possibly 2 spots. I spoke to trainer Bupat Seymour, who had the 2nd place finisher in the UAE Derby. And they're considering coming over from Dubai. They're going to nominate to the Triple Crown today. That news will break at some point later on in the week, and they're gonna see how the horse bounces out of the race and see how everything shakes loose. So could have been 5 spots marked this week because on Sunday, when most people were waiting for the slap her around the world, we had the Sunland Park Derby and Slow Down Andy, a horse who has spent some time on our top 10 list previously. Slow Down Andy.
Slow Down
for
Andy.
Doug
Okay.
and J. Paul Redham and Redham Racing. They've won 2 derbies before with Nyquist, and I'll have another. They took the backdoor route and they qualified for the Derby with the 50 points to the winner over there in Sunland Park. So while he was a little bit erratic in the stretch, they have 5 weeks to correct themselves and take another crack at the Kentucky Derby. So the spots are beginning to fill up here, and it's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas in Kentucky.
All right. So what was your guess again for Epicenter?
I'm going to say like a 7 minus. So like I'll go with a 6 3/4.
You're right about there. It was a 6.
Yeah.
So that is making Epicenter's sheet line look awfully perfect heading into the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, I don't think you can be any happier right now than Steve Asmussen. He's gone down this fairgrounds route before, and while there hasn't been a winner of the Louisiana Derby win the Kentucky Derby since Grindstone back in I think 1996.
Okay.
He's so happy with how this horse has transitioned, starting in the newly run Gun Runner Stakes in December, where he was a winner of that before he got beat in the Lecomte, and then win the Risen Star, win the Louisiana Derby. Hasn't missed a dance, hasn't missed an oat. Has gotten bigger and stronger throughout the process, and there's just so much good going on right now. If you're Team Epicenter, and again, showing that new dimension with jockey Joel Rosario, who's kind of become the first call rider here for Steve Asmussen. They're going to go into this Derby trail with a lot of confidence, and even though he hasn't won a Kentucky Derby before, he's won 9,637 races in his career. He knows how to prepare a horse, knows how to win a race, and he's going to be coming in gangbusters going into it. And it'll start next week when he breeze next Monday. That'll be the first of what'll probably be a series of 4 breezes going into the Kentucky Derby.
Okay, now let's take a look. And I was taking a look again at the same. I showed this just a little bit ago. This is the stretch drive of the win by Crown Pride, and it looked there for a minute. I forget the name of the horse, the 14 that was leading. It looked like that 14.
Summer is Forever.
Yeah, it looked like he was going to hold on there for a second, but boy.
So what happened over there, as I can attest, as my sweat stained suit can tell you, it was very, very hot early on. So they run the Arabian race first because it's so hot. The Arabians can take it a little bit better.
Okay.
By the time the UAE Derby ran, and it was race 5 on the card, and it had already been about 6:30 at night our time, the weather had begun to cool down, but speed was really good. Speed dominated early on the first 2 dirt races. And when Summer is Forever got away with 3/16 of a mile to go, you said, wow, this horse is going to pull off a huge upset. I mean, monumental upset. The horse was 80-1. And sure enough, the Japanese horse kept going and going and going and going. And he was able to kind of go by and then increase his lead. And look, it was a talented field of runners. The Sikafu, the Japanese horse that had run second in the Saudi Derby, was taking a lot of money, didn't run any well. Pinehurst for Bob Baffert, who had won the Saudi Derby, actually ended up last. There were some other American horses who had been placed in stake races, like Bill Mott's Gilded Age, that was third behind Un Oho in early voting. So, I mean, it wasn't a field of nobody that the horse beat. And he did it the right way. And he was able to close on the day. And then as the track cooled down a little bit more, horses were able to come off the pace the rest of the day. We saw that obviously in the Golden Shaheen with Switzerland, and then in the big race with Country Grammar. So the track kind of, the variance changed a little bit. It was very speed heavy early, but credit to where credit goes, and the horse was impressive in victory.
Yeah, by the way, that's the one thing that the states have got to do more of, and that is because every one of their races, big races, are in the daytime. It'd be nice to
Mm-hmm.
come up with like a big race that can be run every year at night, so we can have some of
Well,
those.
like they tried that with the Breeders' Cup,
Oh,
and
they did. How long ago was that?
and it was the year that Zenyatta got beat in Churchill Downs, and then all of a sudden nobody wanted to do it anymore because Zenyatta got beat.
Oh,
So, they've toyed with doing things in prime time before. Churchill runs a night card with the Stephen Foster Stakes, which is very popular. The Charlestown, they have their big race at nighttime. There are times when you kind of play around with it and stuff like that. There's not a standalone card at nighttime, but there are different days and different events where they do have nighttime racing and try. And look, I mean, by the time the Derby's run with all the hoopla, it's almost 6 o'clock at night,
sure.
over there as well. So it's certainly not
I'm just
not
saying to
early.
take advantage of like the kind of spectacle we saw in Dubai when the race was over.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. Now I'm gonna play this again just because of one thing, and I'm playing the UAE Derby because I've never seen this track before. So I'm gonna play it here. I'm watching what. Okay, it looks like they're coming around. They're coming around this turn here, right here. All right, they're coming around the turn. I'm going. All right, here we go. Here's stretch drive, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and then all of a sudden, I look up and I'm like, wait a second, they're turning again. I go, all right, is this a stretch drive now? They got that really weird thing where it looks like they're coming around the stretch twice or three times almost. What's the deal with that track, the way it looks?
So that track is built identically to Churchill Downs.
Okay.
So Sheikh Mohammed Al Maktoum, who is the vice president of ministry and the ruler of Dubai, um, he has the vision from the beginning that he wanted to win the Kentucky Derby through Dubai. It had never been done before, and he was convinced that he wanted to show off his country and everything else. So he actually had the track designed to the specs of Churchill Downs. It's a mile and an eighth. It's the long stretch. It's the whole nine. The wide sweeping turns, and so that's what that track is. And so, if you're Crown Prince or Crown Pride, that's an advantage because you've run over a track similar to Churchill. Obviously, it's not Churchill, but it's similar to Churchill Downs.
And then we're gonna watch the stretch drive of the Dubai World Cup and the upset of what was it? Country Grammar upsetting the big boy. Life is Good. What'd you think about that?
So I thought I felt horrible. Hot Rod Charlie to me was the best horse in the race. I thought it going in, and I think it coming out. The kickback over there is different than it is in the States, and it hurts. And Jockey Flavian Pratt got kind of stuck and caught in no man's land early on in the race and was getting absolutely pounded and drilled with the kickback. And so the horse went from fourth or fifth early to he just basically dropped out of the race. And we're like, man, we think he's going to run last. And then your eye goes to Life is Good. He had an easy lead. Things set his own way. Very reasonable pace. Jose Ortiz on Midnight Bourbon was playing the role of his fullback and, making sure that nobody got in Life is Good's way while not challenging his brother at all. And when they turned for home, Life is Good began to tire and just no real excuse, just couldn't really go on and quicken with the mile and a quarter distance that he hadn't gone before that we talked about last Monday was, the only way Life is Good was going to get beat was by himself. And that's exactly what happened. As he began to tire, Frankie Dettori, who's probably the best rider of all time, picked up the pieces and made the first move, and Country Grammar took the lead. And then all of a sudden, out of the corner of your eye, you see this thing that's like a flash of lightning coming up the rail. And it was Hot Rod Charlie who had, once he got away from the kickback, was able to duck over to the rail and make this huge move to rally up for second. Chua Wizard behind him getting third. So Life is Good had to settle for fourth, Midnight Bourbon fifth. But, look, all the credit in the world to Country Grammar. Jimmy Barnes had said at the post-position draw on Tuesday, we used the Saudi Derby, the Saudi Cup, as a prep for this. And his line was, were the first horse to ever go take a $20 million prep, and that's what that was. They knew he was going to need the race off the 9 month, 8.5 month since he had run last. He ran second. He looked like a winner that day. Just got nailed on the wire by the 80-1 shot, Emblem Road, and he came to Saudi Arabia. He came to Dubai. He put some weight on. He looked good all week. And when I talked to Bob Baffert on, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday, I had texted him, and since he was in California, and I said, Bob, I said, what do you think? And he just wrote back very simply, Jimmy Barnes says he's training well. He needs more distance. And he was right, because at the 1.25 mile distance really took him over the top. Because at 1.125 miles, life is good very well probably holds on in the race. But with the race being 1.25 miles, it looked like that really played to his benefit. And if the race is any further, he wouldn't mind either. So, look, credit.
The announcer, I don't know who she was, but
Alistair Cohen.
Yeah, she made a comment.
He's from South Africa.
She thought that maybe the horse should have been pushed ahead even further earlier than the horse was. Like, there should have been a bigger lead down the stretch. That was her initial analysis.
Look, I think that we saw that with Nick's Go last year. They tried to get a little cute with Nick's Go and took him back off, slowed him down a little bit. And I think that's what got him beat in the Met Mile. I think that's what got him beat in Saudi Arabia. And then when they kind of corrected things, and it started in the Cornhusker and then kind of continued throughout the rest of the year, culminating with the victory in the Breeders' Cup, Joel Rosario just broke out of the gate and let him go and let him do his thing. And he would go half miles in 45, 46 seconds instead of 48. And he would just basically gallop everyone to death because nobody can possibly keep up with him. He's a brilliant galloper. And Life is Good has the same attributes. And they slowed it up. They went 24, 48, and he was in hand and he was in the bridle. But he also opened the door because everybody else was within 3 or 4 lengths of him, where if he went to 45, 46, anyone who was within 3 or 4 lengths of him probably would have had to back out because they wouldn't be able to keep up at that torrid of a pace. But look, you live and you learn. It'll be interesting to see if he's able to make the Met Mile. He's tentatively scheduled to leave Dubai on the 30th. He'll head to Windsor Farm for a month for a little R&R, and then rejoin Todd Pletcher's string at Belmont with the goal of trying to make the Met Mile if they can. It'll be interesting to see if they try and stretch him back out again or if they just decide to make him a miler.
Okay, and then the last video we're going to play is going to be the video of the dead heat in the Dubai turf. So let's take if you missed this. So what did you think about the dead heat?
I mean, this was the longest photo finish since the dead heat with Joe Haar and High Chaparral going back many, many years. The really weird part about this was it's a 3-horse photo. And it looked to me like I couldn't tell. I thought maybe the Japanese horse on the inside that made all the running kind of held on. And then I thought maybe Vindegaard on the outside might have gotten up for second and Lord North was third. And so we're walking back, and I'm walking with the horses back to the paddock to get unsaddled. And all of a sudden, it showed Vindegaard third. It kept the photo for the top 2, but determined without a shadow of a doubt that the outside horse had run third. And when the photo flashed and Vindegaard was put third, Frankie Dettori let out this giant scream. He was riding Lord North, and he thought he won it. But little did he know it was still a photo. So they had a photo. They had 2 photos, I guess. The 2 photos turned to 1 photo. And then we had to wait about 8.5 minutes before they decided, you know what? It's too close to call. They called it a dead heat. Everybody was happy. And the real story about this, other than the Japanese, once again, dead heating for another win, Lord North was a horse who won this race last year by 3 lengths, the easiest of winners. He's trained by the father-son team of John Gosden and Thaddy Gosden, who basically would be the Todd Pletcher of Europe. They win everything. John Gosden's one of the top 5 trainers probably in the history of the sport. And they've been very quiet about this horse. He disappeared after last year's victory and reappeared in a kind of a spring training game, if you will, on the all-weather surface in England. It was a 5-horse field. He ran second. Hadn't really been impressive in the morning time since, but they had the horse well prepared. And Frankie Dettori, after the race, said this job was unbelievable because this horse almost died multiple times last year. Now they continue to not say what happened to the horse, what was wrong with the horse, but there were some obviously significant problems with Lord North in the last year. And he was able to overcome all of that and repeat, became the first horse to ever win the Dubai Turf twice. And that race used to be called the Dubai Duty Free. It's got a history of just great horses in it, and just a remarkable performance for Lord North to dead heat for the victory over there.
Okay, so you mentioned Baffert, and we finally have some clarification now.
Sort of.
Okay, so will there be horses that he trains that will race this weekend with another trainer?
Yes, that I can tell you assuredly. So there's been about 10 horses that have been switched out. He's retired 2 of his better mares to make them brood mares. So it's not necessarily a clearance sale, but starting to kind of make way. And people have a little bit of an issue with this because he is gone and given a lot of these horses to his former assistant, Tim Yakteen. Who's worked for him 2 different times, has a very, very close relationship with Baffert, was infamously involved in a fight at the Clocker stand at Santa Anita last year, which was very much not Will Smith and Chris Rock. It would be more like the Chicken and the Roadrunner or something like that. But security guard was involved in a scrum with Richard Baltus and Tim Yakteen arguing about Bob Baffert being Tim Yakteen's boy. And it's when 50-year-old men are fighting and calling somebody their boy, it doesn't really work very well. But that was the case in the situation with them. And look, it's one of those things where we all know nothing's really changed. Like for example, Doppelganger, who will be the first horse represented by the Yakteen barn transfer from Baffert. He worked 3 quarters last week. The same exact move that he would have done for Bob Baffert. The horse is being groomed by Bob Baffert's groom. It was ridden in the work by Bob Baffert's riders. So
it's like in baseball when they kick the manager out of the game and he's hanging out in the hallway there of the dugout, still giving signals. And
well, I famously remember, I think it was Bobby Valentine when he was coaching the Mets, got kicked out of the game and then came back on with the fake mustache and the glasses that you get at Spencer's Gifts, and he was some other coach or something like that. So yeah, I mean it has a lot of feel to that. But I mean the rules are the rules. They're enforcing them how they see fit, and so Doppelganger becomes the first Bob Baffert horse with a chance to earn significant points. There's 100 points on the line in the Arkansas Derby. He'll probably be the second or third choice morning line off the second place finish behind, obviously last time out in California. And it's just one of those things where, if he's first or second, he qualifies for the Derby. And that ownership group that likes to call themselves the Avengers, I think there's 9 owners on the horse. I think every one of them is a multimillionaire. They put up a lot of money to try and chase this Derby dream. They've been there before. They've done it before. And so they're going at it with full zest. And Doppelganger and Messier would be the one, obviously, Santa Anita Derby that they're probably pinning most of their hopes on.
Okay.
But Doppelganger will be first representing Team Yakteen in the Arkansas Derby.
A couple other things. Did you? We didn't have time to talk about this last week, obviously, but did you hear? I'm sure you did. About this. What was it? This heavy favorite, and let's see. The jockey got suspended. What were you saying?
This is the one at Turf Paradise.
Mark sent this to me. Mark Lawrence. I'm trying to see here if I can. Is that Fausto Henrique Rodriguez de Silva? is hereby suspended 30 days for conducting business. Blah, blah, blah. It says 120 favorite pulled up coming out of the gate.
Yeah.
110K in the mutual pull. Let's see what this. Yeah, I don't know if you heard about this. The jockey was suspended 30 days.
I mean, it's a difficult situation, and it's one. Unfortunately, the one thing that I think there needs to be.
So you know what I'm talking
in this
about.
industry, yeah, the one thing that there needs to be in this industry is some kind of an insurance plan or insurance protocol to best benefit the handicappers. And we see it sometimes when you have a scratch during a sequence of a multi-race bet, a pick 3 or pick 4, pick 5, pick 6, and you get the post-time favor that you didn't want, you get eliminated, and you get all curmudgeon. In this situation, obviously the horse didn't feel right. The jock should have scratched him behind the gate. He didn't. He let him run a little bit and then pulled him up right at that point. So, anyone who had wagered their money on this horse that on paper looked like he was the best horse in the race, they've lost everything. And look, I know it's horse racing and it's gambling, and I get all of that, but there should be certain things to me that help the handicapper and the gambler out, because this sport is dependent on them and on the fans, and that part of it gets lost sometimes when we talk about it and we talk about the owners and the trainers and the jockeys. And look, at the end of the day, the horse is the most important thing, but the second most important thing behind the horse is the gambler and is the fan. And I think there are certain things that we need to do, and I call on the NTRA and some of the lettered, the ABC organizations to step up and do something, because it needs to be led by example. I know Pat Cummings has been all about breakage, and he's gotten that to the Kentucky, through the state of Kentucky, that maybe, he can get his extra penny. So instead of to the dime, it'll be to the penny. So, horses will start paying $4.23 to win instead of $4.20. He's very excited about that. But this, I think, is more important. This is the bigger picture. This is the crust and the creme de la creme of what's going on with the handicappers, of airing their grievances and their frustrations. It's also the same thing. Look, there's multiple class action lawsuits out there against Bob Baffert for the Kentucky Derby with Medina Spirit, and saying that they were duped and whatever. And look, the brunt of it is, and people are right, you can't wait to pay everybody until the drug test comes back. I get that. But if you wagered on the second place finish, sure, and that horse gets elevated to first, I do feel like there should be some kind of a contingency plan to where you at least get something back, instead of sitting there. And when we go to Churchill Downs next month, there's going to be a plaque that says Mandaloun was the winner of the Derby.
Yeah.
And if you sat there and you said, I bet Mandaloun and I lost money, it just gives you a bad feeling inside. And I wish there was something we can do on that end. That's all.
So do you think it was justified, the suspension?
Look, I mean, there's a lot of mitigating factors. I'm not there on a day-to-day. I believe this was not the first time that something like this has happened. So at some point,
you mean to that jockey?
Yeah, okay. I think at some point you just have to put your foot down, and you have to lead by example. I mean, in Dubai, for example, there's a trainer today that tested positive last month, and he was med, and they suspended him for a year. And if you're suspended for a year, I think that really kind of sends a statement and sends a message. Sure getting does. Suspended for 5 days or 3 days, like these jockeys now getting suspended, but you can still ride the stake races. That's the dumbest punishment I've ever heard of in my life. It makes absolutely no sense how you're going to tell a guy, oh yeah, you can't ride the cheap $10,000 race, but the $1 million race, by all means, go ahead. Yeah. So,
typical.
That's all.
Next week, not this week, of course, but when we come on the air on Monday, we're going to wrap up the Florida Derby, the Arkansas Derby, and the Jeff Ruby Stakes. So that's going to be awesome.
There will be. I can almost guarantee you, this our poll has remained the same now for about 3 weeks, and
yeah,
I can almost guarantee you
that
on Monday there will probably be a change.
Yeah.
I can't say that assuredly. I mean, I
Because
think
you
we have
could
a
be
really
just so perfect that it could just.
it is possible.
Yeah.
Listen, it is certainly it's possible. But and you know, on that end, like I did look to see, you know, is there somewhere we can put Slow Down Andy back on our list in the top 10? And no, we're happy with the horses that are on our list. But look, now it's put up or shut up time. You got to qualify. And after this week, if any of our horses on the top 10 list don't have at least 40 points, you know, they're going to be in danger of dropping not only out of our top 10 list, but out of the Kentucky Derby picture itself.
Yeah, because Epicenter is the horse that is definitely going to be at the Derby. We know that because he is running away with it with 160 points right now. And by the way, that's it for Epicenter. No more racing until the Derby.
That's it. He's going to ship up from Fairgrounds to Churchill on Tuesday, and then we'll compete. You know, he'll have all his final preparations, all his works will come over there at Churchill Downs.
So Crown Pride, we talked about the Japanese winner
and,
over.
And I'll tell you this too. There's a guy on Twitter. He's the head of publicity for Churchill Downs. His name is Kevin Kirstein, and he does an unbelievable job going into the Kentucky Derby of not only informing people what these horses are doing when they arrive and stuff like that, but he oftentimes will get somebody from Churchill to video these works and put snippets of them online on Twitter. So I would definitely recommend following him. You got to find the Twitter handle for him, but he's a great follow on Twitter as far as this time of the year when we're getting ready for the Derby. He's the go-to person at Churchill Downs where I get all my information from. So definitely recommend, kind of as we get closer on that Derby trail, everybody wants to see how the horses are looking. He may or may not have a bath shot. Everybody loves those bath shots of the Derby horses getting their baths, and there will definitely be at least a video or two of Brad Cox's goat, which is the most important video that you'll see all week.
Wait. Okay, so first of all, why does everybody like to see the horses get their baths for?
That one I can't answer. That's a question when we have guests on.
Okay.
Jay Privman from the Daily Racing Forum has determined that that's a very important. He loves a good bath shot, and it's really just.
Is that like putting oil on like Arnold Schwarzenegger before he gets ready for like, you know, a big?
I guess, but the suds are soaking and everything else. Everybody loves the bath shot, and Brad Cox's goat, whether he's eating a bag of Doritos or just running amok over there Derby week, Mr. Man will be strongly in the spotlight come Derby.
All right, you'll have to get that.
If we're there on the week of the Derby, we'll see if we can grab an interview with Mr. Man, the goat.
I that would be perfect, especially if we're there sitting with John. Actually, because if his horse races there, his horse races on Friday.
Yeah, okay. Imagine doing the Friday show with him the day his horse is going to run. Good luck.
That's what I want to attempt if we get there. I think that's just you know, can't miss television. So Crown Pride is 100 points in second, and then you've got the Gap, the Classic Causeway. By the way, Slow Down Andy, did you say it was a filly?
No. Slow Down Andy is a colt.
Okay, who's the filly you were talking about? That's going to race in one of those races next week.
Her name's Secret Oath.
Oh, Secret Oath. Okay.
So she's a daughter of Arrogate. She's been very impressive, winning all the local preps at Oaklawn on the filly division. But now we'll take on the colts for the first time, and we'll see what happens with that. She'll probably be the morning line favorite, and very well could be the post time favorite. But I think that's where it ends. I think she's going to be up against it, running against some of these talented colts.
Is it too late for like a Zozos? Does a Zozos try to race in that Arlington? What is that race called?
So 40 points Lexington? Should probably get you. I was trying to do the math this morning. I think 40 points is going to get you in. Okay. So he got 40 points for his second place finish. And despite the relative lack of experience with just 3 lifetime starts, He should make the field for the Kentucky Derby. So Brad Cox has his first stamp into the Derby as he appeals to repeat Kentucky Derby back-to-back victories, this time crossing the wire first.
By the way, here's an article. Secret Oath, ready to take on the boys in Arkansas Derby. Okay, we'll see. Her chances? What do you think her odds will be?
Her chances of winning, not as much.
Odds?
Her odds, I think she's going to end up going off somewhere in the vicinity between 5-2 and 7-2.
And she doesn't have a chance?
I mean, she's starting, so she has a chance. But I don't think she will win. I really don't think she'll run second.
Okay.
She's been visually impressive running against lesser. The form hasn't been flattered by anybody who she's beaten. They haven't really come back and done anything. And I think there's a difference when you're running against colts than running against fillies. And look, she's a filly that nobody wanted at the time. She was scratched from the sale, and they kept her. And everybody loves the coach. Everybody loves Dwayne Lucas, and he's won the Arkansas Derby before with the filly, and he's won the Kentucky Derby with the filly. But we're not in Kansas anymore, and she's going to have to really have her running shoes on. If she were to beat this field in the Arkansas Derby, I would be very, very surprised. And she will likely be the favorite, but it's not going to be my money. Hopefully it won't be your money. And
no, not now.
I don't think it'll be Jonathan's money. I can almost say that assuredly. But we'll see. We'll see what there's a couple of Twitter people that have made Cyberknife, who's number one on our list, 8-1 on their morning line. Jonathan has assured all of your viewers that he won't be 6-1 ever again. So I don't think he'll be 8-1, but we'll see what happens.
Lastly, if a filly, apparently these guys they get all excited when they see the horse getting their baths. If the filly is getting a bath, does that change anything? Do they get more excited?
I would hope not.
Okay, I certainly hope not either.
Okay,
because that'd be pretty bad. I wouldn't want to go down that road. Chad, I'm glad you're back.
Me too.
And in one piece.
I did almost miss my flight yesterday, but yes, I'm glad I'm back.
Not sure why you chose that hat this week, but
listen, we're heading to the road to Kentucky.
We're not there yet.
You want me to send you one? I'll send you. You want a Kentucky hat?
Kentucky hat like that?
This is a quality UK hat. First edition.
You can hand it to me.
I mean, I'm not
in a month.
As
5 weeks.
As tragically as we got beat last time, I still wasn't going to put on a St. Peter's Peacocks hat. That just wasn't going to happen. So.
Hey, I went to college. I
Did you
went to college for 1 semester.
What college was that? The School of Hard Knocks?
St. Peter's.
You went to St. Peter's? You're a peacock?
You have to graduate to be a peacock.
Did you drop out when you realized what their school
Yeah, I did.
If you've never seen a peacock up close, I highly recommend it. And this show has officially gone off the rails.
I'll edit this out. All right, man. We'll talk again on Monday. Can't wait. Like I was saying before, we're wrapping up the Derby, and the stakes. And then we're coming back to preview the Wood, the Grass, and the Derby next week. So
yeah, it should
be good. Looking forward to it.
All right, sounds good, Greg.
Thanks, Chad.
All right.